So, welcome to the holiday event tune-up. This is designed to help you walk in confident, prepared, and crystal clear as you go into the holiday event season for this year and for many, many years to come. Most of what we'll talk about today applies definitely to holiday events, but really to any event that you're going to be planning. So before I jump into all of that content, I'll tell you a little bit about me, just so you know if I've got the experience to tell you what I'm talking about. So my name is Jen Dunn. I am the owner and CEO of Grit Fueled Marketing Consulting. I work with entrepreneurs and business leaders to really help refine their marketing messages, their events, and really just bring forward an amazing customer experience. So I really believe at the heart of all great marketing is a relentless focus on what's in it for your ideal customers. And events are no exception to that. If you really think about it, those are your attendees. Prior to opening up Grit Fueled in 2024, I spent 20 years in the corporate world, both in telecom and education technology. Mostly served as a marketing strategist, event planner, ran campaigns, and also worked quite a bit in sales enablement. So my focus has always been on really just bringing forward the best experience possible, clear communications, and lots of organization. Through that time, I've also expertly executed countless trade show sponsorships, from popping up booths to really help design the flow to make sure that attendees are engaged and also participating with the teams. I've also produced over 200 webinars over multiple platforms, lots of those during COVID especially, and strategized and planned countless hosted events. Every event I've been a part of has always received glowing feedback from leadership and also from attendees. A couple that we had before I left the corporate world more recently, one of the customer quotes was, "The most organized and exciting event they've seen here. This is better than events from the big guys." The big guys referred to Microsoft. So that was pretty cool. It was really neat to be able to show what organization and passion can really do an event, even if it doesn't have a massive team and budget. And also, I've never seen a vendor event this impressive and comprehensive and so well coordinated. Some really great feedback there. So the goal today is not to be about me. This goal is to make sure that we strengthen your event so nothing important slips through the cracks. Events take so much human work, if you will. Human error certainly happens, but the best events have really been thought through really thoroughly, and have backup plans, clear communications, and really defined roles. So we are going to go through those 8 steps just to really help as you're preparing for your event. It's most likely happening next week or the week after, given this is holiday season, or you might be planning one in the new year. So everything designed, if you're really coming up that quickly, you definitely want to think through your full event experience, and see what you can do with little details to really just make those changes that will make a massive impact for the attendees, to keep them top of mind. So we're going to walk through these 8 essentials for every holiday event needs, talk about some potential gaps that you may not be quite aware of. So things that we can really ideally prevent for you before you walk in that event day. We want to strengthen your event plan and also just build a sense of clarity and calm so that when you walk in, you can really do so with a calm head and confidence, and just know that you're ready to tackle that event head on. So before I jump in, this should have been emailed out to you if you haven't received it yet. We will kind of go through, if you're a person who likes to take notes as you go, you can download this guide. So the first item is around theme. It's not always the first thing that you're going to define. I'll say all 8 of these don't have to be done in this exact order. It's really just making sure that all 8 of these are considered, that they're mapped out and figured out as you really get deep into your plans. So sometimes it sounds frivolous, but every event needs a theme. This is your event's North Star. This is the central piece that really, it draws everyone into your event. It's the thing that can really make it feel like an immersive experience. And really kind of transport people from their everyday to what you're presenting or sharing with them live on the event. So the first question to ask yourself is the event theme clear? Does everyone know what it is? Do you know what it is? And are all your stakeholders aligned? That piece makes decisions easy, because if it doesn't fit the theme, then it becomes a much easier no than saying yes to everything. You also want to make sure it fits your culture and your purpose. We are talking about holiday parties, so probably your audience is your staff, potentially customers, could be plus ones and families, and probably your leadership team. So you want to make sure that everything is really aligned, not only to it being a holiday, to it being whatever it is that you're celebrating for the year, but also that it just really fits on a cultural level as well. And also a theme can inspire ideas. Sometimes, starting from scratch, thinking we're going to do a holiday party, but not really having a theme yet can make it kind of hard to plan something that doesn't just feel boring. So you want to make sure that you've got all of that really mapped out. So then that way, having a plan like that feels a lot more inspirational, if you will. And we get that cohesion and creativity, and you'll start seeing ideas coming out from the team once you've got a theme set. Next, what you really want to think about is the goal. This is probably the first thing you should do before you do any event, whether it's a holiday event, a corporate event, you're going to a trade show, whatever it is. The goal is the most important thing. So this is the outcome that you want. Otherwise, what are you doing the event for? You want to think about, what do we want attendees to feel, to remember? As someone who's been in marketing for over 20 years, I'll tell you that events are the number one place to really connect with your audience, to really have that kind of experience and create memories. If you really take a step back and just think about, at this holiday event, what are some of the memories we want our team to walk away with, that can really tie closely to your goal. So maybe you're celebrating a fantastic year. Maybe it's been a tough year and you're celebrating the fact that you're still standing. Maybe it's giving back. Whatever it is, you really want to make sure that the goal of the event ties through to the theme, fits the budget, all of those things. And again, to think about, what's the point? Why are we doing it? If you ask yourself something several times throughout planning an event, it's really, what is the point? Why are we doing it? Why should our audience care? And that shapes the experience, and it really gives that emotional resonance, which really is what you want. Thirdly, audience. So this is the most important group in the room. This is your audience, who you're designing it for. So of course, begin with who is attending. Again, it's probably staff, but it depends on who's going to be in the room. Like I said, if there's going to be customers, if there's going to be families, partners, vendors, really just think about everyone that's going to be there. If you need to, you can think about the different levels of importance of who's going to be there, any specific VIP tracks, things like that you want to think about. And then not only who is the audience, but what's going to resonate for them. If you are, celebrating a year that's been kind of tough and you're giving away huge prizes and really just kind of showing off revenue-wise, that can feel a little bit disjointed. So you want to think about not just what your team likes, but also, what the year's been like. And you want to really make sure the opportunities to make an event feel personalized or just really feel a stronger connection are sometimes the things that don't have to cost very much. Even just recognizing folks, having even a slideshow up on the stage and showing different members of the team can really just give people additional connection and feel like they're really part of it. And of course, even just getting a chance to talk with them directly, especially if it's a smaller event, that can make a huge difference for folks. Budget, spend with intention. Someone, again, I've planned so many events over the years, especially in the corporate world. And one of the favorite lines that you'll hear come out of many event planners' mouths is champagne taste on a beer budget. So if we had $2,000 to plan an event and we're trying to pull something off like what you see on the slide here, it doesn't really fit. So you really want to think about your goals, your theme, your audience, but also your budget. What will your budget actually afford? And sometimes trying to do too much is what can really just make it not fit well. So think about how you're going to stretch your dollars as far as you can, of course, but also be realistic. So some tips as you go into especially holiday time. First is holiday premiums. So just think of supply and demand. With holidays, it's just venues are busier, catering gets booked up, freelancers and everything just becomes more expensive. So you want to just think about it is going to cost a little bit more during holiday time. And sometimes even just selecting certain days. If you're finding it near impossible to get in on a weekend, think about a weeknight event. That can sometimes not only save you some budget, but also give you the availability that you're looking for. Also, venue requirements. If this is just something simply at a restaurant, you're typically not going to have huge additional venue requirements. You want to think about the staff that's needed. You're going to have to use their staff, of course, and licensing and things are taken care of. But if you're going somewhere like a conference center or hotel, you might be bringing in additional things that you need to think about. So if there's a huge, if you're doing something like this concert, you see, there's going to be a lot of AV costs, and typically those costs need to be spent at the venue. There's a lot to do with unions and things that you have to be careful of. So you just want to go into that eyes wide open. Whatever venue you've chosen, make sure you've read through any documentation they've given you, because it will typically spell out what you need to account for so that you're not left with a huge surprise come bill time. Also, rush fees for ordering last minute. This will bite you in every event, but especially holiday time, because there's just so much more demand for what the supply is. So rush fees will be even more. So think about signage, anything you're getting printed. Even if you're doing like menu cards, things like that, don't send them the day before the event. You're going to pay more. Give yourself at least a few days, if not a couple weeks in advance, if you can. And even things like if you're ordering custom gifts or anything that you're ordering, the further in advance you can do that, the more you're going to save yourself. Lastly, I'll say is every event needs a buffer in their budget. I typically recommend 10% of the total budget, just set it aside. There will sometimes just be things that you either can't account for, prices go up, unexpected costs, or last minute requests that will save you. So try not to dip into it. It's really meant for that kind of emergency, and also when you're settling out the budget in the end. There's just sometimes things you just can't see. Communication, what and when. So when you think about the audience's experience, it actually begins before they get to the event. So typically it's sending out, save the date, invitations, all the little details. You want to get them excited for the event. You want to make sure that they feel connected to the theme. But you also really want to think about kind of the logistical details. So if they're going to be coming to a venue that's maybe got multiple entrances, challenging parking, even just a larger place. Think of someone like me. I'm very directionally challenged. I could not navigate my way out of a paper bag. So without my GPS. So think about someone like that. Think of the lowest common denominator. And you want to just give them the opportunity to walk through with confidence. So want them to feel connected. So again, if it's somewhere like a big convention center, think about additional signage. Think about if you have the staff to do it, station people at entrances, give them a warm greeting. That VIP level experience, whether it's an internal event or an external event, is such an incredible thing to offer. And it just really helps people feel more connected. They connect more with people. But also if you can't, signs are also very helpful. And just make sure as they get through, you've really thought through that full experience for them. You want to make sure all your communications are very clear, and include the important information they're going to need to know. Even just things like doors open at 5 p.m., dinner will be served at 7. Gives people the opportunity to really understand when they need to arrive, when they might want to arrive, but also they don't come hungry. You have an event starting at 5 and people are expecting to sit down and eat right away. You're not serving them for a few hours. A cranky or hangry audience is a really fast way to derail your event. So just think about little things like that, can really go a long way. Sending reminders and day of info is also really, really helpful. Making sure that it's not only one email they're looking for, it's multiple. If you're doing paper invites, that's a lovely touch. I also recommend sending some emails just so you can keep people reminded, but you can also provide those links to things like maps to the venue. Post-event follow-up is also one of those things that can it's something that people can kind of forget about. In a business setting, in a business event, it's the number one place you're going to make your sales. So you absolutely need to do post-event follow-up. But even if it's, like I say, something as simple as the holiday party for the company, just keeping the momentum going. There's such a high people could get from events, from that wonderful connection, from an event that went really well. Even just sending another kind of celebratory, what a great event, thank you for coming, send some pictures, whatever you want to include. Just keep that momentum going. So much time, effort, and money goes into these events. And the longer that you can keep that going, it's just a benefit to all. Roles, you want to think about who's doing what. So if your event has multiple people planning the event, having some clarity around roles can really reduce a lot of friction, frustration for the planning team, but it also just makes things go smoother. So if one person knows they are the lead for logistics, the other person is the lead for the strategy, and maybe someone else is running AV, you're lucky, you have a huge team. Just having that clarity can really help. If it's all one person, that's okay too. It's just giving some of that clarity of who's responsible for what. It gives people that accountability. So if you just know that the buck stops with you, people just step up a lot more and really follow through. And just having those defined responsibilities makes it so they're not also tripping over each other. As you get closer to a large event, those roles can kind of blur together in a way, but it's more in the sense of everyone's stepping in to really pull the event together and really come together as a team. But even come event day, you have your clear lines, but typically the full team knows all of what's going on. And this just really gives that smooth execution day of. Just need a sip of water. So now we want to think about stakeholders. So this is really who signs off. So as you're going through the planning, in a smaller business, you might find the owner is the decision maker and that's everything. And they're the main stakeholder. And that's great. That actually makes it easier. In many companies, there are multiple stakeholders and one or two key decision makers. So the more clarity and understanding there is going into the event makes it easier. So if one of your stakeholders is asking for fancy ice sculptures to be added to the event last minute when your budget is already tapped, it can be an easy discussion with your decision maker to get that answer quickly and either panic and need to find one or be able to scratch that off the list. Location. So the experience setting. So some of the most memorable events I've been a part of had a very small budget and a very quaint setting in the event for the venue. And they fit really well. And some other events have had huge budgets and amazing event experiences that really set the tone and the memory. It really comes down to what is your venue. So by this point, you should have one. If you don't, definitely want to consider it carefully. But having really tying your venue into your theme, into your goal, into your budget, all of it. You're seeing where I'm going. This is all coming together. But having the venue really fit well can really be something that was really quite memorable. I remember doing one event in Lake Louise, Canada, where we were actually in. It was like a stable kind of a barn. It was a restaurant, but it was very rustic. It's actually somewhat similar to what you see on the screen here, and we ended up having. We brought in a band for the event, and really just led into kind of that cowboy theme, and really got everyone involved. And it was fun. Everyone kind of dressed accordingly, and it fit really well. And if we tried to take that venue and have it be a very fine dining experience with, fancy waiters and white tablecloths and all of that, it wouldn't have quite fit. So really just kind of taking a step back and leaning into what the venue is instead of what it isn't can sometimes just really pull everything together in a nice way. You also want to think about layout and flow. So if you're going to have, a large group, you want to really map out where everything goes, be cognizant of fire exits. Typically, the manager of the event, or the manager of the venue rather, will help you just make sure that there's things that you can't block off, things like that. But also think about like if dinner, there's going to be all the tables set up and then you're going to clear for a dance floor, work that into your flow and your timing. So that flows really well. And of course, accessibility. Make sure that everyone has equity in terms of access to the event and that you've got provisions for anyone who needs additional support. Okay, that is the big eight. There's more that goes into event, but that's the big eight. I'll just touch on some common gaps that I've seen through events that might help you as you prepare for your event. So for flow and pacing, this is just really making sure that as you go through what we call the run of show. So it's not just your agenda, but every single little detail that goes into the event and into the timing, just really thinking through how long things are realistically going to take, and giving a little bit of space between each item. So if you've got a speaker that might be a little bit long-winded, build in a little buffer into that schedule. If there's weather challenges, you might realize that your event might start just a little bit later to allow people to get in, or just have that extended time before dinner is served. So just thinking through really all those kind of details can really help an event flow really well, because sometimes the events that feel the most kind of disjointed or just don't really sit that well with the audience have a lot to do with flow. So really buttoning that up can make it really work well. And that same hits with timing. Transitions, just making sure that, like I said, if you're resetting the dining room and then you're going to be setting up a dance floor kind of in that same space, just having time built in, but also having the staff prepared to deal with that and everyone to know what to do on cue. That's a big piece to think of ahead. Guest arrival, like I said, just make it as warm of a greeting as you can and make sure that it's nice and easy to get to the venue. And if it's going to be a challenge to get into the venue space, just find ways to make that more delightful for your guests. Backup plans. This is winter, depending where you live. I'm in Calgary, Canada, so we deal with a lot of snow. And you might be in a much warmer place. But if you're going to do something that's outdoor at this time of year, you want to think about an indoor backup plan. Having backup plans can really make it so that you can pivot with grace and you're not really left with a big challenge when things go sideways, because sometimes they do. And the more that you have backup plans for what could be a particular challenge, then you're so much easier prepared. One of the best ways to be very prepared is just have every single phone number you're going to need saved in your phone. Whether it's someone delivering, the cake, anyone delivering anything special, any specific guest speakers, people you need to reach quickly. The faster things are at your fingertips, the easier your life is. Clear roles, like I said, having that clarity really does help in planning, but also even when it comes to the event itself. Typically, when I come into an event, I will introduce myself to all the day of staff, make sure that they know that they can come to me with any questions, concerns, if they need anything, if they get asked something they just don't have the answer to. And in that way, they know who to find in order to make it this quick decision. And that communication. So just make sure that you're giving really clear communication upfront to all of your attendees can just make the world of difference. Okay, that is a lot of content. I hope that was very helpful for you. Like I said, I will send out the event essentials checklist via email after this as well. And you can also download on the QR code. And I think we've got a question. Could you try that again?
Yeah, sure. Um, how long in reality, obviously the holidays are right around the corner, but how long would you recommend to start planning these events? Because I mean, obviously there's a lot to be done in these 8 steps. I mean, and usually you start planning way before, you know, a month or 2 weeks. So is your recommendation 2 months, 3 months? You see what I'm saying? How long when you start planning these events?
Yeah, great question. Um, what I find with planning events, it depends. So this was somewhat designed for if you're kind of midway through your plans and you're given it's December, you're probably in the last week or two. So you're kind of in that refinement stage. If you were planning something like a dinner at a restaurant, you can do that in a week, even a few days if you had to, but it's not ideal. Ideally, in terms of giving people advance notice, I would say 3 weeks minimum if you can. If it's something of a larger scale where you're going to a big event, there's going to be a bit of production involved. 2 3 months, even longer, if you can. Do you mind telling me a little bit about the type of event you're thinking of?
No, I'm just curious of like because you were like, okay, you better have done it. And then I was like, well, yeah. I mean, if you need a theme, if you've got goals, if you've got an audience, that's why I was curious just to like know how much time. That's why I was like, is it 2, 3 months in
Mm-hmm.
um in this? Because it's like, I mean, I know some of the events I've planned, and I mean, I mean, it's sometimes a year out where, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna start having this, these are the things, and then 3 months comes along and you're starting to send all these invitations out and stuff like that. And I mean, that's why I was like, I mean, if you're not already, then it's kind of like I was just curious where you
Mm-hmm.
start saying that, where obviously where you come in and say, okay, you need for like a holiday party. I mean, I don't know necessarily because I've not done a huge number of them, but I'm assuming it's a couple months where you would start the whole idea of planning, particularly at a company, you'd want that done so it becomes really easy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it really it depends on the scale. So if a holiday party is again just something simple at a restaurant, more or less a meal at a restaurant, probably a month. Um, Events like you're thinking of, I used to plan our in my previous company that I worked for, it was an ed tech, and we did a partner summit every 2 years. Planning for it probably started I think it was 6 months in advance, but we were thinking about it 9 months in advance because it required international travel for attendees. It required booking big venues, very large guest lists. A lot of experience went into it. A lot of pre-planning goes into it. So it just depends on the scale and the scope of the event. But I would say that the more planning time you have in advance is always better. But for something that's typically a hosted event, very often an events team is planning it 3 to 6 months in advance, I would say. But great question. Do we have any other questions in the group before I move on? Okay. All right. Just bring that back up again. I've just got a couple more pieces to show you guys, and then I'll let you go for the day. Um, okay. So I'm just gonna move my screen out of the way. So in terms of thinking about what's next, so definitely go through the checklist. And I left a lot of room in the margin on purpose so you can take some notes. Like I said, if you're like me, you're a note taker. I also have just set up a event clarity audit. So this is again designed for those holiday parties, but any type of event that you're looking to just get that additional level of clarity on. You can definitely book for that as well. So the link to that, like I said, I will email all these links out as well. You can also scan the barcode or the QR code. And really what it is I'll ask you a couple of questions in a form just before we meet. You get a one-to-one workshop with me for an hour. The questions are just designed to give me a bit of scope of your event so I can just show up very prepared to make the best use of the time that you've booked. We prioritize your questions. So if there's some, kind of burning questions, things that are stressing you out, or you just really just want to get to clarity on these questions, that's what we'll talk through. And then we'll also kind of go through the flow of your event, work through a bit of a run of show. So event planners love to call this run of show. It's more than an agenda. It's really all of the details, all of the cues, all of the little steps that go into the full flow of the event. And those are often where you can see a lot of the holes that can be missing. We'll also go through an audience experience framework that I've developed just over years of planning events. It's how I prepare as I'm just starting to plan an event. And I also use it several times throughout the process. And this is to really think through all of the details, both from the strategic standpoint, but also from that logistical standpoint and customer experience. And then it's something I also do a few days ahead of the event, just as almost like that running checklist to make sure everything is taken care of. So I'll take you through that framework and I'll kind of give you the keys so you can implement that yourself. And then the goal is to ensure that you show up with grace under pressure on event day. The event planners that typically are calm and collected. It's not that, everything is always just going absolutely perfectly. It's that they've mapped it all out. They've got their backup plans and they're ready to go. So anyway, this is the event clarity audit. If you'd like to go ahead and book, I do have limited spots just due to the fact that it's holiday time. But you can definitely book and grab one of those spots. And lastly, oops, got a slideshow. And lastly, we'll just go right to Q&A. So if anyone has any other questions, I'll stop sharing so I can see again. It's the hard part with screen sharing. If there's any other questions, I know sometimes I get asked, how do you really kind of figure out what the best way to greet customers or to greet attendees at an event is? And, it depends on your event. So if you're one that has a bit of a registration desk, the best way to really greet everyone, especially if there's things like needing to check them in, name tags, things like that, have everything ready to go. It's not rocket science, but when that is not prepared, that can be such a challenging piece. If you also have multiple people, break up the alphabet, set up some signage, and have it so that, the A's to J's are in one line and etc. And have everything alphabetized and ready to go. That is often one of the biggest frustrations folks find in events are just having chaos or big long lines and they don't necessarily know why, and that is often the best way to do it. So if you can, wherever you can, break up lines, build an efficiency, have things ready to go, and that can just really help so much. But I'll stop talking for a sec. If there's any other questions, either about events in general, if you've got any questions about how the audit works, I'd be more than happy to answer those for you. Oh, thank you. Always appreciate the applause. Awesome. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'll just say if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, please connect with me. I do lots of posting through there, so you hear about all of the updates about myself and Grit Fueled. Oh, thank you, Doug. I do have a double screen, but it something went wonky with my PowerPoint. Thank you, Doug. That's a good idea. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Really appreciate you being here today. Take care.